Hello everyone, and Lazy Me is back. So this time we are going to discuss a new application I wrote. It's a Teams meeting day application, and it's an ACE project, so it gets loaded within Teams via Viva Connections. The idea over here is to come up with one common day for the whole team when they will be visiting the office. With hybrid work, different people, some colleagues are coming on Mondays, some on other days. So how do I as a teammate know who is coming on when days to the office and what are the most popular days? So let's see how the application works. So that's the ACE card. It's telling me that out of all the days of the week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, these are the two popular days on which most of my colleagues are coming. So as you can see, two of my colleagues are coming on each day. But of course, if let's say Tuesday had 5 people coming in, we will only see Tuesday over there and not Wednesday. So it's the most popular day. I can set my days, so I can set when I would be in office for this week. The whole application is for current week itself. I can always change it. Let's say I'm only going on Mondays and Thursdays, I can save it. And then I can also see the schedule of rest of my teammates. As you can say, Jon Snow, he loves the office, he goes there every day, and Peter Pan is only going on 2 days. So this is all my colleague. Behind the scenes is pretty straightforward. I am reading all my list of the colleagues from my Outlook. It's a contact list from the Outlook. I will go on to in details on why I choose contact as a list of my teammates and not some graph API, for example. And also, once you set this thing up, behind the scene, it's basically a simple SharePoint library where all the data gets stored. So if I could go here, that's my office work day. I have the title, which is name of the person. I can see of which week we are talking about. So every week has a number, and then true or false for all the days. That's the data behind the scenes. I will mention it in the GitHub also, the structure of this list. It is also possible to provision this list via ACE when we provision the SPKKG packet, but you're talking to Lazy Aki and the Lazy Me just created by hand. So let's see how to go about coding this application. So what we have over here is a standard out-of-box ACE project scaffolded with Yeoman generator. I use the adaptive car template. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go through the rest of the previous videos in this playlist, and I have covered most of it over there. Out of the box project itself, so the first thing I would like to do is to change the URL on which for the workbench, because I would like it to open on my website. So the URL for that should be, I think it should be this guy, if I'm not mistaken. Let's copy this and we paste it here. So that's the URL I would like to roll it on. Okay, and the other thing I would like to do is to change the image of the web part when it loads. So let's go ahead, go to adaptive, we go to assets, and I do a paste. Oops, come on, I need to drag it. Somehow I don't understand why there is no paste option, doesn't appear over here, but I can drag it. But anyways, having said that, let's go ahead and use this card, use this image. So for that I need to go to web card extensions project. The newer versions of the base adaptive card extension, it does not automatically show you the function to load the image, so that needs to be added. Let's go ahead and add a piece of line, which should be, give me a minute, which is this guy. Come on, C, let's paste it here. I would like it to be after this. So that's the function icon property of base adaptive card extension, and I'm returning my logo back. The logo was 2 in the end. Let's put it 2 here. Save it, gulp serve, and if everything goes right, I should see this card loaded on my screen. Voila, voila. That's my card, team meeting. If I do, okay, perfect. So the card is loaded. Let's make it a bit bigger, save it. Always remember to preview it, otherwise all the things, quick views and this, all the actions which we do on team meetings, card will not work, so it has to be in the preview. Perfect. The other thing we want to do is to install PNP SP, PNP SharePoint project, which aids in interacting with SharePoint, getting the lists data back, and so on and so forth. Because remember, all this data of the user when they are when they are coming to Office is getting stored behind this SharePoint list. So let's quickly go ahead and npm our npm PNP SP list. So it will be SP. One quick thing, and when I wrote this application, I was using PNP 2.0. And now PNP has modified, they have migrated to 3.0. So I'm not using 3.0. So there would be slight differences in case you are going to version 3 if you're using version 3 of PNP. So please take care of that. For the time being, I will use PNP 2.0, so which should be package JSON. It should be this guy, to be precise, 2. Okie dokie. Let's go ahead, install it. Perfect. So the PNP is installed. Let's go ahead. The first thing I would like to do is to move all these interfaces and all the other interface, because we are also writing some more interfaces in this project. So I like to move all the interfaces in a separate folder so that it's a bit more cleaner. Let's go ahead. I'll create a new folder called models, and within model, let's add a new file, which is imodel.ts, and then let me paste some bunch of code. Control A. Okay, so all my interfaces are over here. I'm using the camel query. Okay, I list object from PNP SP list. This is what we installed right now. The props and states, they are nothing but these values. Props and states, I have modified them, the interfaces, to suit our needs. So for example, for props, I would like the title, description, and icon property. In my state, I need these values all across the application. I need to know which SP list item. So for example, which item for that user when I do a post to save the user back in the list, or when I get the list item for that a particular user, that is pointing to this one. SP list is the list where everything gets stored. So I'm storing that. Once I get that list from SharePoint, I don't want to keep on asking for it multiple times, because it's a lot of back and forth between the server and the client. So I store the list also. Week number is the property which tells me what week in the year it is. So for example, right now it is, I think, 19th week number, so that I can store different weeks data for the same person. User is of course the logged in user, and popular day count is, and popular day, these are the two parameters I need to figure out what is which two are the most popular date, or 3 or 4 are the most popular day, and how many people are going on those days. So schedule is for every user. I have whether he's coming on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday or not. All of them are optional. And then I have user object itself. It tells me display name, email, schedule, and the complete team members. So this schedule is for that guy, but then team also is an array of users. So within teams, I will have one user, and then user has his own schedule. So it's kind of a graph. Having defined our interfaces, let me quickly remove these guys from here. Okay, so it should not be this. The import will come from it should be models, and then imodel. The two things I need is prop for the time being. Let's put it here. And then the other property I need is the state. That's the state. Okay, that's the state. Fair enough. So props will go here. State would go here. Right. Also, these interfaces are being used all over the place. So let me copy it. Let's see the card view interface, because over there they are also trying to use this one. Let me paste it here, control V. Let me do a control V for this. That's my props, and that's my state. We need to do something similar for quick view also, I believe. Yes, so let's do like this, and then that's my pop, and that's my set. Okay, perfect. Let's do a gulp build just to see if everything was okay. Gulp build. I have this error because of course I removed the quick view from there. What we need to do is quickly define these constants also somewhere. What I would like to do is to add a new folder. Let's call it next to, in the base of it, new folder, let's call it utilities. So all the common functionality, the constants and all the functions can go over there. I'll add a new call constants dot tts, and now let me add couple of code over here. So that's my constant file. I have the list of the URL, the list URL. So I need this to figure out which list to read from SharePoint and all the other constants which I was using till now. So let me save it. It's an export, so I can go here and I can do an import here constants. I like the fact that the Visual Studio automatically figures it out. Control C, and then I can do, because I would like to move these also. Let's see if I can do this. Yes, and now the good thing is I can remove these two things. Cool, no? Everything is in one way. The reason this is throwing an error right now is because my state is not of the type as I defined over here in this interface, but we will fix it in the later part of the demo. And quick view registry ID is not there. Let's check quickly what's happening for that. So the quick view registry ID is not there yet. Honestly, I don't need it because I have my own views for the time being. Let's replace it with constants dot have I, yeah, I have, so it should show me something. Let's use card view registry ID, and we will see exactly what to put over here. So that's good. Quick view registry ID, let's use it, card view registry ID. We will see it later on what to do about it. I'm just trying to compile my code right now with all these changes. Let's do a gulp build again to see if it is built, if it builds or not. Still not, cannot find card view registry ID. Come on, okay. It's the card. Remember, is over here I need to tell what card to send back, so it should be constant dot card view registry ID. Okay, like that. Control S. So I guess by now it should be okay. So we are able to build the solution. Now the first thing I want to do is, of course, to make this connection between SharePoint and my project work. So I need to put in that code over there, and also to calculate my week number, because the way I'm targeting which week to assign the user, to ask the user for coming to office is based on the week number. So let's go ahead and start writing those functions. To do that, I will go to view. Let's go here. I would like to put these files in my utilities class. Quickly, let's go ahead. So one is this, and other is week number, and then I will also copy one more sample data JSON. So that's the meat. So let's see what's happening. First of all, the easier one, week number. It's simply a function. You give any date you want. It can be today, it can be yesterday, whatever you want. I will calculate I'll return back a number to you, which corresponds to the week number. So let's say 3rd of January will be week one, maybe 10th of January will be week two, and so on and so forth, right? So it's just a plain number, nothing fancy about it. Then I have another important functionality in get user data. What am I doing over here? Forget about these errors for the time being. Get user team data. The idea over here is to call this function, give it the context of ACE so that I can read the SP objects and the username and everything. I also put in which list in SharePoint I should read. I store it in a state once I get it. And the function returns me a promise with all the users who are part of a particular person's team. So remember, it's a promise returning an array. One thing that I did, which is a bit counterintuitive, is that I'm reading the list of colleagues for a particular person via their contacts list. So the person needs to create the contact list in Outlook, and then the application reads who are the colleagues or the teammates of the user. Now, the reason I did it is because Graph, there was no one way for Graph to figure out this information. Lots of problems over there. For example, if I go to Graph, there is a functionality which gives you the most, the colleagues of a person, but that is the colleague person interacts the most with. It's not the actual team as such. So it could be that I'm interacting with HR a lot, but that does not mean I am a member of HR team, right? So popularity or the communication practices is not a good way to figure out what the team structure is. I could use the AD way also, but again, is my bosses what is the team of my boss? Is it his boss's team also, or is it just his team, which the sub team he is leading, some manager's team? So that was a bit of difficulty in figuring it out, so I went with this approach. In case you would like to change it, of course, feel free to go with any other option. So that's for this. Let's see what I'm doing with that piece of information. So that's the function which will return me the list of all the colleagues. If I'm running a local workbench, so for development purposes, I simply use a sample user data JSON. That's my that's my JSON file. All my colleagues and everyone is over here. I'm mimicking Outlook will return back to me. In case it's not a workbench, it's actually running on production or on queue. Then I get the context. It's the this.context from the ACE card. I read the MS Graph client. I get the client object from the graph, and then I make a call to me contacts for that person's contact list. I get some response back. I do the JSON and map, and from each of these users, remember the XML is something like this. It's the same XML which I copied. So for each of these, I pick up the email ID, and then I make a call to SharePoint to figure out their itinerary for that day. Sorry, this should be Akshay call. Let's quickly change this also here. Voila, and voila. So that's pretty much what is going on in this function. So again, if it is workbench, just read the XML, JSON. You can see how old I am. I'm still talking about XML. So just read the JSON, you get the email IDs, send that email ID to get user schedule function, which is over here. And in the user schedule function, I get the week number, and then I make a camel query to that list. With that user email and that week number, I get all the parameters. So I get his schedule, and then I construct my object and I return back. Pretty straightforward over here. Get the user schedule. Once I have the user schedule, I can return back the complete user's team along with their schedule to the calling function. Having written our get user team and schedule function, let's go about using those and seeing if they are actually working or not. So let me quickly copy code some paste. So the first thing I need to do is for using PNP setup is of course to use this function PNP setup. It comes from sp /PNP library. I need to specify my SP context for it to use, and then I can go ahead using SP objects to get the list over here. And then once I get the list, I store it in my state and also the week number. I need to quickly import certain things. So let's go about. The first thing I need to import is PNP object itself, which would be these guys. Command C. So this is for the PNP stuff. My import statement. So I import PNP from common, the SP object to it, and then this got me a bit of, I had to do a bit of research because right now if I do not import, for example, PNP SP web, this line will start throwing an error that web does not exist on SP. So these are sort of additional import statements that you need to write to be able to use the full functionality. These are extension methods, think of it, is if you're coming from the C# background. So those are my objects, and then I also need to import my week. So I think I can copy this guy. A good practice would be to write some kind of a barrel file within the utilities and export all of them in one index.js, so that I can, rather than doing importing file by file, I will just import it via index file. It will be one line of code, but let's do that later on. I will leave it up to you to follow that good practice. Let me copy week number. It's always easy. I hate typing. And then it should be this one. So that's for my setup of PNP, and then getting the list and getting the week number. Having sorted the list and the week number out, let's go ahead and figure out on the init function the team of the user, the data about users team, right? So let's go here and put in a bunch of code. It's a bit of a function, it's a bit of a big function. Get user team data. Remember, it's the same thing which is this function. What does it do? I pass in the context and SharePoint list from which to read. It goes ahead, gives me all the users and their schedule, which we discussed in our previous video. Once I get this, I do my customary check. Over here, I figure out which is the day with the maximum count. Remember, I have to show Monday, Tuesday, and so on and so forth. So that's part of the logic is over here, and so I'm calculating all the days count. Then I figure out which day is the maximum and which is the count for that day. Again, it looks pretty difficult. I'm using object values, object keys, and blah blah. It could have been easier. Why did I use object and these things? Because I wanted to use the object functions. It had been quite a while that I used this class, so I said, okay, why not go about it? So that's the only reason. If you have a better way to calculate this, I'm pretty sure there are better ways to do that, so please go ahead and do it. But once I get all this information, I store in my state what the popular day is, how many colleagues are going on that day, and then for that user, I specify the display name, email address, and the team value. I also store that information in my state. It's the logged in users information, by the way. And once that is done, I also need to call the render card again, function again. So guys, if you like the video, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Your appreciation will go a long way in curbing my laziness. See you next time.